Guys, just getting up, getting ready for the show. Tony Katz. Show's called Tony Katz today. Matches with the radio program, which is joining us in just about 20 seconds. I've got the latest on this sniper in Dallas, Texas. The two dead, a ICE detainee, and the shooter. What happened? What took place? I have got it all. I'm glad you're here. Just finishing this up. Got to get myself a video producer, radio producer. I got covered. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz today. The cigar is the Arturo Fuente. Let's begin.
Today at approximately 6:40 a.m., we received a assist the officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter. The DPD was able to locate the shooter, who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners. The FBI is on scene, and right now I'm going to introduce you to the SAC of the Dallas Field Division, FBI Joe Rumrock.
So that was the announcement just a short while ago from the chief of police in Dallas, Texas. A sniper from a rooftop firing at ICE agents, killing an ICE detainee, then taking his own life. As I had read the first reporting, somebody approaching him. That information could certainly change. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything over at TonyKatz.com.
Yeah, good morning.
This brings us to the special agent in charge from the FBI in Dallas giving the update.
My name's Joe Rhetoric. I'm the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI field office. I want to first start by thanking our partners in local law enforcement, specifically the Dallas Police Department, for their quick and timely response. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable. While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack. If any member of the public has information that would help the FBI's investigation, I would ask that you please report that to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, any piece of information will be helpful, but this will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable.
This is the first of many. And as I have made the argument, this is not going to stop anytime soon. We're going to see more. We're going to see increases. The only way out is through, as I've said, and I will get more into. But the messaging that we see, this anti-ICE messaging that we see, first, the idea of a targeted act, which is to say this person meant to go after ICE agents. That's the way it's being described. Now, one could argue that, wait, maybe this guy was trying to kill the detainees. The rounds that were found near the suspect had anti-ICE messages on them. I guess this is what we do now. These people who have no interest in a country that has the rule of law, these people who have no interest in actual discussion, they just go about being murderous, dangerous freaks. They write their names, they write their sloganeering right there on the rounds. And I think it was Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, who had posted a photo with some of these messages. You could see the rounds there. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on rounds. I know what they look like to me. Certainly not a handgun. It would be how I would say it. But they referred to this as anti-ICE messaging. So when we're told we don't have a motive, as the left still wants to tell people regarding the assassination of Charlie Kirk, yes, we do. This shooting took place before 7 a.m. Eastern time. And before noon Eastern time, we had a motive. Now, yes, as I have often said, and I will say again, information can change. We can learn more, and I have zero problem with waiting. Zero issue at all with waiting to get more information. But one does not need more information to understand this from Todd Lyons, the director of ICE.
I've never seen anything like this in my law enforcement career. I've never seen threats on law enforcement, specifically ICE, increase the way it is. You know, we're up over 1,000% assaults on officers right now. And really just a lot of the talk that's out there, a lot of the rhetoric is just the violence directed towards law enforcement officers just trying to do their job. And we just keeping seeing an increase step by step. You know, like I said, we had that shooting at the Alvarado facility, which is right outside Dallas. On July 4th, where they ambushed officers in military tactical gear under the guise of fireworks. And now we have this. And it just seems like it keeps getting worse.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that attack. Yes, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. In the chat room there on the YouTube channel there, youtube.com/WIB. I'm sorry, /Tony Katz. youtube.com/Tony Katz. Don called it a copycat. It's exactly what we said after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Of course this is coming. Of course this is coming. Oh, sorry. Of course this is here. Saul Alinsky warned that a good tactic is one that your people enjoy. Why would somebody think that these things would go away? Why would somebody actually heed the words of Senator Ted Cruz, who was there at the press conference in Dallas?
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop.
You're not going to stop. You're not going to stop. Senator, do you? I appreciate you saying so. Please, I don't want to be a guy who's negative on your point, which is valuable. We all understand they're not going to stop. Jasmine Crockett won't stop. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez won't stop. Pramila Jayapal won't stop. Pramila Jayapal just perpetrated or perpetuated this great lie that NBC did. I'm going to get to this story. The NBC lie and Jayapal about a 5-year-old. Anything to denigrate ICE, diminish ICE, attack ICE, make people ginned up to say somehow it's wrong to remove people who are here illegally from the country. They're going to do this. Is Gavin Newsom saying these people are wearing masks and we can't allow them to wear masks. And I feel so bad for these people because they're being abused by Donald Trump. And what they're doing is a violation of the law and people are being disappeared. No one's being disappeared. Illegal immigrants are being removed from the country. That's what the people voted for. And the people not happy about it have resorted to violence because they don't actually believe in the American way of anything. They don't believe in the American way. We didn't get what we want. Let's destroy the other guy. We'll utilize lawfare. The lawfare is not working. We'll shoot him. The people who support him, we'll shoot them too. The people doing the work that those people voted for and is all absolutely lawful, we'll shoot them too. I applaud what Senator Cruz is saying here, but we got to meet that with reality.
This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe. The divisive rhetoric tragically has real consequences.
Is having real consequences, and it's not ending. That's the only point here. Where's the reformation amongst the progressive left to say stop it? And the answer is, why would you stop something that you tacitly approve? Now, that's a loaded statement from me. That's a loaded statement saying that somehow the political left is okay with this violence, okay with this murder. Well, why don't I leave it now to the political left to say no to this? I'll leave it to the political left leadership to say, just because you disagree with somebody doesn't mean you can kill them. I'll leave it to the political left leadership to stop calling ICE monsters and fascists. I'll leave it to the political left leadership to stop calling President Trump a fascist. I'll leave it to the political left leadership to stop calling you and me fascists and Nazis. I'll leave it to them. But do I think that that's going to come?
I hope that every one of us will pray. Number one, for the safety of law enforcement that are risking their lives to keep us safe. Number two, for the health of those who were shot and injured today. We still don't know the full details of who was injured, but for the families also of the victims of this shooting. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe.
I always bristle. It's because I'm being too literal. We all get the point. It's me on this one. Violence, there's never a point to violence. There's never a place for violence. World War II proves that wrong. The Civil War proves that wrong. That really isn't the conversation they're having here, and I should not try and play it in that way. There are some people who don't believe that. There are some people who have been told that this is the only way. There are some people who have been told that they are justified in this. And I have got data that proves that point. So the question is, how do we fight against that, Senator Cruz? What will work is MSNBC no longer putting on anybody, CNN no longer putting on anybody who says that Trump is a dictator, that Trump is an authoritarian, that Trump is destroying democracy. If the New York Times would stop saying that and just focus on policy, focus on statements. Stop telling people that if you don't do something about this, bad things will happen, which is exactly what the left has been doing for years. And this is the only result. So yeah, I agree with Senator Cruz, but that doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything until the other people start doing something. And even when they start, doesn't flip a switch, this is not going to end. This is not the start of something. The start of something was 20 plus years ago when George Bush defeated Al Gore because the Supreme Court said so, and they said Bush is Hitler. It's been 25 years if we want to choose a starting point. You don't end that level of hate, vitriol, and nonsensical anger overnight. You don't end decades of anti-American teachings in colleges overnight. The only way out is through. And man, that ain't easy. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today. I was just writing some notes to myself. I had 3 things that I was going to write, and I've only written 2. That's it. There we go. Trying to get some things done, people. No guarantees that I will. Ben Affleck's daughter is speaking in front of the UN because, of course, but wait until you see it because, well, it's hilarious and sad. It's the way it is. It's ridiculous and sad right there. Make sure you head on over to TonyKatz.com. You should be subscribing right there. Moved everything over to the Substack. What we have at locals will be going away at the end of the month. It'll still be there. It's just gonna tell people to go to the Substack because that's where everything is, and that's going just miraculously well. Very, very happy with that. Growing and building and doing all the things. So it's so much easier. It's weird. It's weird. I guess everybody has different things that are easier, maybe because more people use it. I don't know. It's just been super easy. I'm posting things on a regular now. It's going solid. So I hope you'll join up. And if you become a subscriber, I appreciate the support. So thank you very much. Back to the show, back to the radio show. Let's go to Google. I don't know what I just said there, but you know what I meant. I do not know why it happened. I was not consulted with, but someone allowed Ben Affleck's daughter to speak in front of the United Nations. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. And I know what you're saying. Why? Why was she given this opportunity? Her name is Violet. Okay, lovely name. Violet Affleck. And she is speaking in front of the UN. And I don't think she curses here. So you're okay, producer Landon, but finger on the dump button just in case. She shows up to the
here's what we know about
to the meeting. Sorry there. And you'll note that she is wearing a mask. She's wearing a mask, ladies and gentlemen. She's a grown woman, right? Yeah. Yeah. She's 19. She is 19. And she's speaking to members of the United Nations. You know where this is going, right?
Here's what we know about SARS-CoV-2. It is airborne, floating and lingering in the air. One infection can result in disabling damage to almost every cell in the body, from the brain and heart to the nerves and blood vessels. Every subsequent infection increases the risk of long COVID and places people who already have it in greater danger. Here's what we don't know, is what it does to reinfect children over and over and over again with no endpoint in sight from the day they are born. We are about to find out. As Dr. Akiko Iwasaki says, at this point, the whole population is the control group. And after only 5 years, long COVID has surpassed asthma as the most common chronic illness in children. 5 years. I am terrified for the children who do not or soon will not know a world without debilitating pain and exhaustion, who cannot trust their bodies to play, explore, and imagine, and who will not know the potential of their own minds unfettered by the cognitive damage from a COVID-19 infection.
Long COVID's real. I don't deny this. But why are you wearing a mask? It doesn't work. For the people still wearing masks, you cannot sell the rest of us that you somehow trust the science and believe in science and still wear a mask. A mask that has a gap in it of, 3 millimeters? Has 3% efficacy. That was the University of Waterloo. Do I have the numbers there right? Or is it even a smaller gap and less efficacy? Masks don't work. They don't work. I don't have to wear a mask when I sit down at the restaurant, but I have to wear a mask when I stand up at the restaurant because it turns out that COVID can't go below 5 feet. We don't need masks. We just need to duck.
And I am furious on their behalf. It is neglect of the highest order to look children in the eyes and say, we knew how to protect you, and we didn't do it.
That neglect should be really focused, and that anger, I should say, of neglect should be focused on the children who we didn't protect from gender-affirming care. With all due respect, Violet, this is an unserious argument. I concede a reality that long COVID is real. And I concede that we need to pay some time on that, some attention to that, and help with that. To wear masks, to live in fear, and you actually want to put everybody back in masks? That's her whole argument, by the way. That's nuts. And no, the answer is no. I'm Tony Katz. If you believe in science, the answer is no, by the way.
We have access to a technology to prevent airborne disease, something that millions of our ancestors and millions of people around the world today would kill for, and we refuse to use it. And I shudder to think of where we will be in another 5 years of unmitigated infection and reinfection.
She's shuddering. Shudder. Shudder. You cannot bring this conversation honestly and truthfully if you're wearing a mask. You can't. It's aerosolized. It's not a droplet. We've been through this. But if you want to have a discussion about what we do regarding long COVID, go right ahead. As for her numbers, regarding children in long COVID. I haven't looked up those numbers. I haven't seen where those are at. If somebody has them, if you want to send them to me, I'd appreciate it. I'd appreciate it greatly. Because I have seen long enough, in long enough measure, over time, that people manipulate data to their purpose, and we need to make sure that we're not being manipulated by the data. Just checking out some of the comments. Jeff, I bet she wears her mask in the shower. I'm not going to ask. But if she doesn't wear a mask in the shower, what makes her think there is no COVID in the air in the shower? Thus, the issue. The mask isn't preventing anything. She has next to her at the table water bottles. Did she take a sip of water? Can't drink through the mask. You know, there was a short while there in, I think, Michigan. They were saying you had to wear a mask in a cigar lounge. How in the cigar lounge? And I'm telling you, there are people out there who will tell you that they smoked during COVID, never got sick. I am convinced I had COVID for a day and a half. Like, that's it. My father, rest his soul, will tell you that he absolutely got COVID. And there were parts of it that affected him. I have friends who absolutely have long COVID. They still don't have a sense of smell. True. I mean, we shouldn't deny those things. That's kind of nuts. But live in fear? Madness. Absolute madness. And to think that there is anything about masks that helps. Okay, so this is, I don't think this issue is referring to from JAMA Pediatrics. The JAMA Network is where this is from. So I will give this a read. I just want to see what it shows me about effects in children. This is about long COVID in children and what to look for. I'm talking about where we have seen the effects of long COVID in children. Right? That is something different right there. And then MSNBC to the rescue. Good gosh. These people. Where, okay, and I've got I've got the NBC lie. If you get my show sheet over there at TonyKatz.com, you would see it. Crazy story. Certifiable. Cigar is excellent, though. Let us discuss what happens when you purposely lie. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. The story I share is a story regarding NBC. And I have shared a couple of stories about what it is they have done recently in their fraudulent news coverage. We start with a story that came from Charles C.W. Cook over at National Review, who I should have asked him on the show. Charles is great. And the story from Charles is about how NBC, they wrote a story about this killer in New Hampshire. He went to a wedding and he started shooting at the wedding guests. He didn't know anybody there. He just started shooting up the wedding at a country club. When NBC wrote the story, guys, they wrote 20 paragraphs, as Charles C.W. Cook over at National Review pointed out. And at no moment in the 20 paragraphs they wrote about this shooting at the Sky Meadow Country Club in Nashua, New Hampshire, never once did they mention that the shooter was screaming, "Free Palestine." Exactly what the shooter was screaming when he killed two Israeli embassy workers in front of a museum there in Washington, D.C. This couple, this lovely couple. He was shouting, "Free Palestine." Murdered somebody at a wedding he wasn't invited to, didn't know anybody at. NBC wrote 20 paragraphs and omitted that. Do you think that was by accident? I leave it to you. You decide. Let me know on the Twitter X at Tony Katz, in the chat room on YouTube / Tony Katz. Do you think it was by accident? No one thinks it was by accident. Everyone thinks it was purposeful. Everyone knows it was purposeful. Then came the story from NBC. This flat out lie, this smear from NBC that doesn't exist anymore. NBC made the claim that Immigrations and Customs Enforcement had taken a 5-year-old girl and utilized her as bait outside of her home, holding on to her while she was screaming to coerce her father to be detained. That's the story they put out there. That story was a lie from the very beginning. What happened was, according to Tricia McLaughlin, who I believe is the assistant, I thought she was a spokesperson, sorry, Assistant Secretary, Department of Homeland Security. Absolutely not, she writes. ICE agents never used a 5-year-old girl as bait. What a disgusting smear. The criminal illegal alien target, with previous arrests for domestic abuse and strangulation, among other charges, abandoned his own child in a car. The target ignored law enforcement emergency lights to pull over and drove back to his house, fled from the car, gave officers a double middle finger, darted inside the house, abandoned his 5-year-old daughter inside the car, writes Tricia McLaughlin. Officers helped rescue the child and called local police to report the abandonment. That's what happened. NBC said they utilized the child as bait. I ask you now, what do you think happened next? Because this response from McLaughlin, I believe it's pronounced McLaughlin, was almost immediate. NBC didn't take it down immediately. When they did take it down, this was 5 hours later. 5 hours from when Tricia McLaughlin posted her statement was at 1:48 p.m. NBC News with the correction, feel the air quotes, at 6:35 p.m. 5 hours later. They write, video shows ICE with 5-year-old girl while agents attempt to arrest her father. Correction, they write. An earlier version of this article mischaracterized the activities of ICE agents in the video. The article has been updated. So even in the update, they still make it look like ICE had a 5-year-old girl that they were apprehending. And even the caption of the photo, video shows ICE with 5-year-old girl while agents attempt to arrest her father. So they don't even really correct. They still mislead. Which brings us to the horrific and shameful Pramila Jayapal, who posted the original story. She posted the original story after the correction from NBC. The correction from NBC, to the extent it was a correction, was at 6:35 p.m. She posted at 6:58 p.m. Representative from Washington State, leader of the progressives, Pramila Jayapal, ICE agents grabbed a 5-year-old girl outside of her home and held her, screaming, to coerce her father, who had been in the U.S. for 22 years, to be detained. This is cruel, disgusting, and must end. Trump is tearing families apart. And what happens next? People today shot at ICE agents in Dallas, Texas. Do you not think that there isn't a straight line between these things? Of course there is. In every way, there is. NBC did not tell the story. They lied. NBC waited 5 hours before correcting the lie, as it was corrected by Tricia McLaughlin, a deputy in Homeland Security. They don't actually engage a correction, and Pramila Jayapal, progressive, utilizes the lie to go after Trump, to demonize ICE, and lead people to say, my gosh, they're going after 5-year-olds. We have to do something about this. We got to take them out. That's how it happened. That's how it went down. The data's right there. It's easy to read. It's easy to see. These people are liars because lying is what they want to do. And NBC doesn't report that a shooter is screaming free Palestine, doesn't report properly on what it is that ICE is doing, in both cases, to protect people who are terrorists engaging in killing Americans because they support the terrorists of Hamas, and to engage and help people build their own case in their own head to engage a violent attack on Americans who are part of immigrations and customs enforcement. None of it is by accident. Every single mistake, every single bias always goes in the same direction. They never once make a mistake going the other way. When you never make a mistake going the other way, you must accept, as a matter of fact, a factual statement that I am making here, that they aren't mistakes. They are purposeful, they are wanton, they are desired. And that is what these media outlets are doing. If a media outlet is doing that, what is our recourse and what is our response? I don't know. I mean, they didn't do this on air. They did this online, and therefore, well, it's protected differently. And oh, well, what can you do? You know, I don't appreciate how Brendan Carr handled things regarding Jimmy Kimmel. Oh, that's right. Kimmel's back. Oh, gosh, Jimmy Kimmel. We have to get into Kimmel, don't we? Because he was really contrite and he apologized so deeply. And I think he's a changed man. Hold on, wait, what? Sorry, guys, just someone in my ear right now. He never apologized. It's more probable than not that the tears were fake. And he'll be back to being vicious, nasty, and a fraud tomorrow. Okay, got it. He didn't apologize. And you can be the judge of what it is that he said. But the lies are purposeful. And the lies are purposeful because they want the end result, which is what we saw in Dallas. They want the result. They don't see this as a bug based on how they gin people up. This is a feature. If they do this, they will get that. Let them tell me I'm wrong, but I've got the data to back me up. Why don't they report properly? They can. But I now have, within the span of a week, less than a week, 2 stories where they protected terrorists and those who support terrorists and demonized ICE and protected the illegal immigrant. Coincidence? Right. Sure. This is Tony Katz Today. I have so much. I have so much to get to this. Let me see if I've got it. This guy on MSNBC, the writing the message on the bullets, they're actually being inspired by right-wingers. Jeepers. Okay, so I do have it. So I want this from Rasmussen, and that from MSNBC. And then, oh no, I've got this right here. Sorry, I'm just doing some work, guys. Don't mind me. That goes there. This goes here. That goes there. That is not it. And then, of course, I've got Trump on Ukraine. And then I've got that. All right. Yeah, sometimes I gotta do some work. I gotta get the show together. I got my whole whiteboard over here. I think I need a new one. It's gross. Basically, is what's happening here. And Disney wants to raise the price of its streaming services. No, I'm sorry, Disney. And I like Hulu, but I'm gonna finish up the season of Only Murders in the Building, and that's it. Getting Paramount. UFC is going to stream on Paramount, and you're not going to have to pay a pay-per-view? Yeah, count me in. Count me in. It's good Lord. Can I ask, what is going on where there is this constant commentary about my wardrobe? Like, it's actually blue, but I think it looks a little black. That's why I wore the Flederman Von Reese. This is the cornflower blue right here. VonReese.com. Use promo code CATS to get your discount. So cool. I've got so many new pieces to show you. Love them. Thank you for thinking, Kim, that I look fine, but I would appreciate it if you said I looked fine. That would be more appropriate. Yeah, like noise. Foine. Foine. But no, there's always a commentary about the shirt. I need a shirt sponsor. I have a suit guy that I work with. I don't wear suits on the show. I need a shirt sponsor would be good. Who should that be? Hanes. No, producer Landon. Can you just stop with your words? I don't think you understand what kind of sophisticate I am. Yes, Jimmy Kimmel did return. And Jimmy Kimmel cried. And I mean, it's up to you what you think of it. Do you think that he was engaged in any level of sincerity? Do you think that he meant anything he said here?
I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human. And that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way.
That's not an apology. It's not an apology. And you said that the murderer, the assassin, Charlie Kirk, was one of MAGA. But you knew that wasn't true. So what exactly Are you saying it? What exactly is the point you're trying to make here, Jimmy Kimmel?
I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution. And
that isn't what you said. Why can't we discuss the words that you used and the intimation you were making clearly, obviously, proactively?
it isn't. Ever. And also selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject. But I don't want to make this about me because, and I know this is what people say when they make things about them, but I really don't. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
It doesn't entitle you to a show like that. You're not entitled to the show. Sinclair and Nexstar, which controls 60 some odd ABC affiliates, still not showing the Jimmy Kimmel Live show. And they should not be forced to. I'll leave it to others whether they think Jimmy Kimmel is on the up and up. Do I believe him? No. And you know what I look forward to? I look forward to Jimmy Kimmel and his special guest, Erica Kirk. I look forward to Jimmy Kimmel and his special guest, J.D. Vance. Jimmy Kimmel and his special guest, Tony Katz. Jimmy Kimmel and his special guest, anyone on the right. Once a month. Not every day. Once a month. Engaged in a conversation that shows that people can disagree without the violence. I'm looking forward to that. Now you say to me, Tony, are you willing to have progressives on the show? Name 12. Name 12, and I will have one a month on the show. For a guy who doesn't do many guests anyway, sure. Let's see if a conversation can be had. You name them. We'll invite them. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Now, I should have stated that I am not suggesting that that's what Erica Kirk even wants. How would I know? How would I know what she wants? But it's just as a matter of inviting people. Whoop, there you go. I don't know if she'd want that or not want that. At all. But name me 12. We'll invite them. We will invite them on. Now, here's what's happening. The radio show is in break. So, therefore, we are in break as well. We're going to take the break, hang loose. We will be back in a little bit. Do not forget, people, that we have world-class sponsors like Defiance Beef. You don't even know what a good steak is until you get your beef from Defiance Beef. The ribeyes, the strips, the ground beef, the fillets, absolutely, positively incredible stuff. And if you use the promo code of Eat, Drink, Smoke, which is my cigar and bourbon show, use promo code Eat, Drink, Smoke, you're going to get $150 off. 150. $150 off. Go to defiancebeef.com. Aged 21 days. So unbelievably tender. Such incredible flavor. Go to defiancebeef.com. Quarter cow, half cow, the full thing. Man, we will fill all the freezers. Cannot wait. Go to defiancebeef.com. Use promo code Eat, Drink, Smoke, and place your order. Do that now. Guys, we're going to take the break. Hang loose. And we'll be back in just a few minutes. Take it easy. Be right back. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. The show, the radio show. We do the live stream along with that. That right there. Come on. Show. There it is. Arturo Fuente. That's what we're smoking today. So this is the Hemingway. Which size is this? It's not a Toro because it's a Perfecto. So a Perfecto cigar is something that has a closed foot, but it's not fully closed. It's tapered. Nope, that's not a Perfecto. It's a Figurado, right? Because a Perfecto has the bulging in the middle, right? So a Figurado, which is the shape, it starts with an almost closed foot. That's the way to describe it. Isn't that the way to describe it? Would you describe it as a diademus? See, now I'm into my head. Diadema cigar. I know. I'm supposed to be talking to you, but now I'm into the thing. Let's see. Let's call it a diademus. Right? So it starts with this almost closed foot, which is the part you light from. Then it expands out, and then it goes the length of the cigar, and then comes in, tapers in. I think that's what I would call this. Either way, I'm a fan. The exact cigar, I gotta figure out. Arturo, I know I've got a radio show to do, but now I'm into it. And I know it's a Hemingway. Yes, it's the Arturo Fuente Hemingway masterpiece. Thank you. Dominican Cameroon wrapper, which I love. Anyway, I got a radio show to do. Let's begin. Fantastic bit of data that comes from the people at Reuters Ipsos. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Where are we in this election cycle? And you say to me, Tony, we're in an election cycle? Kitten. We're always in an election cycle. So let's not kid ourselves, shall we? That sounds crazy. Very, very interesting piece of data here. It was Aaron Goldman who reposted this, Argo Journal. I don't know personally, but that's who reposted it, and so I'm sharing it. It comes from Reuters. Really interesting that it shows Republicans just knocking the living snot out of Democrats in the key categories. What are the key categories, you may ask? I'm so glad that you asked. Crime. Which party has a better plan? Republicans 40%, Democrats 20%. Well, you could have guessed that. The Democratic Party they're still not willing to admit that there is crime. The streets are safe, crime's going down, everything's fine, you're just making it up. I recall in Indianapolis that there had already been nights of rioting here, and 2 people were killed in the nights of rioting here, and the mayor was nowhere to be found. His name is Joe Hogsett. Nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found, and got elected to a 3rd term, still has never answered the questions. No idea. Lots of rumors, lots of innuendo. Who was running the city? And the then Governor Eric Holcomb never sent any aid to the city, and buildings were lit on fire, and there were dumpsters on fire being pushed down the middle of the street. Unbelievable. Well, then when there was talk of another riot coming, businesses boarded up because they didn't want to have any more damage. And there were locals, whether they be in the local press, the Indianapolis Star, locals in Civic. How dare you board up? Because that's just leading to more violence. They can't protect themselves. They can't protect their businesses. That is no plan. The left has no plan for crime whatsoever. But crime, Republicans 40%, Democrats 20%. Then immigration, Republicans 40%, Democrats 22%. Well, of course, because all of the deportation of illegal immigrants Never mind the admitting that there are illegal immigrants. That's what Americans voted for. That's what they wanted. And they're getting exactly what they wanted. On foreign conflicts, Republicans 35%, Democrats 23%. I guess the idea that Trump has actually brought about these peace deals, to the extent that they'll hold or anything else, he's at least attempting to. And that's having success. Maybe the bombing raid of the nuclear facilities there in Iran wasn't a bad idea at all. Maybe we're all better off because of it. On the U.S. economy, 34% Republicans, 24% Democrats. A signal that, no, the economy is not great. It isn't. It doesn't matter to me what Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, says. It's not great. I'm not angry about it. It's just a factual statement. Tariffs are not great, so stop it. And if you tell me, well, it's coming, they also told me that inflation was transitory. So I'm not going to buy into that story. Where it gets weird is the next one, which is gun control. Gun control. You have got Republicans 32%, Democrats 28%. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like that meme, that puppet monkey that gives you the side eye. I don't know how to explain that. I don't even know how that comes together. I don't know what that means. When it comes to political extremism, Republicans 30%, Democrats 26%. This is crushing for the political left. Absolutely, positively crushing. Corruption, Republicans, better plan, 27%, Democrats 21%. Democrats win on health care, women's rights, and the environment, and on respect for democracy, Republicans 29%, Democrats 31%. This was 1,019 adults polled by Reuters Ipsos with a margin of error of 3 percentage points. If respondents did not answer or they selected a third party, they were excluded. And that's why you see some of the numbers that you do. Republicans have a message, and Democrats do not have a message. They have no message. This brings us to Hakeem Jeffries. You know, there's a shutdown coming. And Trump has already said, I'm not meeting with Democrats. I'm not having it. Here's the deal. The House already voted on it. Let the Senate vote on it. We don't want to hear anything else. We're not going to, they want to have a shutdown, give them a shutdown. It's a continuing resolution. Done. Hakeem Jeffries is now going to prove in his statement the total lack of plan from the Democratic Party.
Leader Schumer and I already...
No audio. Oh, that's a killer. Maybe it was coming through on the other channel.
To meet with anyone...
It is coming through on the other channel. Shoot. Hakeem Jeffries went about trying to explain that the issue here is that, we're not afraid to meet with people. Leader Schumer and I are ready to meet with anyone, anytime, at any place to discuss the issues that matter to the American people and avoid a painful Republican-caused government shutdown. Continuing, Democrats are ready, willing, and able to sit down with anyone at any place at any time to avoid the Republican-caused government shutdown that we are on the brink of experiencing, and in order to address the Republican healthcare crisis. It's clear, says Hakeem Jeffries, that Donald Trump and House Republicans and Senate Republicans are running scared, which is why they refuse to even sit down and have a conversation to discuss the Republican government shutdown and healthcare crisis that is going to cause people in the United States of America to die. We've heard all this before. And the people have heard all this before, and no one is affected by it. No plan, no conversation about the future, no looking forward, just Republicans evil, Republicans are going to kill you, Republicans bad. Nothing that discusses any level of earnestness to want to have a conversation. What's your plan about crime? Crime isn't happening, Trump bad. What's your conversation and how are you going to handle things on illegal immigration? There is no illegal immigration. All immigrants are here fine. They deserve all the due process. Trump and Republicans bad. What is your plan on the economy? Trump bad. You don't have a plan. And I don't even argue against the idea that if you had a plan, it might not be liked by America. It's totally possible that it could be liked by America. And they could be overjoyed. At least they could say, hey, at least there's something here I can talk about. At least there's something here I can talk about. You offer nothing. You present nothing. You provide absolutely, positively nothing. And that's why you're losing. That's why you're failing, and you're failing in the places. I mean, you fail in political extremism. You fail in still don't understand gun control. Economy, foreign conflicts, immigration, and crime. I'm sorry, is there something else that matters to an election? And then when Charlie Kirk is assassinated, your party says he deserved it. I will get into that because they said what they said. America is speaking. America is speaking aggressively about what it is they want, and they at least want a shot at making it better. Crime, illegal immigration, foreign conflicts, the economy. I do not know how Democrats think they're going to come back and win midterms this way. I think that the House can now be kept by the Republican Party. It's a big swing. It's an uphill climb. You're going to have to fight for every vote. You're going to have to get that out there and canvass. You're going to have to bring people out to vote as long as they're actually registered to vote and have an ID. You're going to have to do this. All hands on deck. And what do the Democrats have? Every bad thing, including when you stub your toe, is the fault of Republicans. Trump bad. America has heard enough of that. That's what the data tells me. It's not that Democrats won't stop saying it. It's that people, based on the data we're seeing, aren't buying. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Sorry, guys. That went a little bit long. I apologize. Tony Katz today. What's happening? What do we know? How's your mother? So we've got Trump on Ukraine, and really Trump in the UN. I'll do both those. Then I've got understandable. I will get to that. Right. And then, of course, NBC on right wingers. And I had something else. It's Clyburn. And then I have a story about Turning Point USA and Oklahoma to get to. There it is. It was on a whiteboard. It must be serious. I would show you the whiteboard, but you're going to be like, is that your handwriting? I'll be like, no, I'm just writing on the board, and it's not, you're going to, then I'm going to get mocked. There's going to be memes. My mother's going to be so ashamed. She's going to be like, your brother's a doctor. He's allowed to write like that because he's a doctor, not some silly radio guy. She wouldn't say that, but she might say that. I don't want to talk about it. Let's see what else is happening. What else is going on? Just checking for the latest information here. Nothing new on everything we've discussed regarding ICE. So we will get back to the radio show.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States. And then
we should be out of the United Nations. I can't say it enough, but I love that President Trump had this conversation. Absolutely love it. Incredibly important and valuable and worthy. The United Nations is not worthy of our time, not worthy of our love. They just aren't. And we have to walk away from this madness. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. And yes, unfettered immigration, which is to say Islamists, this is no way to think that your country is going to survive. It won't. But I think I think there's a lot from the speech, and we should go over it more, and I will in the days ahead. I'll be sure to pick out some moments because that was important. People are really discussing his talking to Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine and statements like this one.
Mr. President, do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
yes, I do.
Oh, well, that's new. I guess all of a sudden Donald Trump's a warmonger. Donald Trump is doing exactly what Donald Trump does. Donald Trump is trying to find a way to win. And it was in front of Vladimir Zelensky that he gave great praise.
An interesting day, I think a very productive day. And we're now we're going to start a meeting with the president, who we all know very well, and he's a brave man, and he's picking up one hell of a fight. And we'll see how that all turns out. But we're going to have a meeting, and we have about 30 meetings scheduled today. We have a lot of meetings scheduled today, going pretty late into the night, but this is an important one, and we have great respect for the fight that Ukraine is putting up. It's pretty amazing, actually.
So you went from you don't have the cards, you don't hold the cards, to great respect, which leads us to the story that President Trump put out a post on Truth Social and said, after getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine-Russia military and economic situation, and after seeing the economic trouble it is causing Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win, capital W-I-N, win, all of Ukraine back in its original form. That's a mighty big cry from a couple of weeks ago in the meeting with Vladimir Putin, and clearly Ukraine giving up Donetsk and Luhansk and Zaporizhia and these areas to the east of Kyiv in order for a peace deal to happen. President Trump continues, with time, patience, and the financial support of Europe and in particular NATO, the original borders from where this war started, it is very much an option. Why not, writes President Trump. Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. This is not distinguishing Russia. In fact, it is very much making them look like a paper tiger. People see this as a complete 180 from President Trump on Ukraine. I argue that those people have not been paying attention. The first two rules of Trumpism, actually, the two rules of Trumpism. The first rule of Trumpism is Trump wins. The second rule of Trumpism is that a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. So, Donald Trump wants a deal because he said he was going to bring peace. Of course, this war would never happen if I was president. He wants to bring peace, and he wants to be able to say, look, peace, look what I did. That's number 8. Look what I did. And he thinks that Ukraine is in a weaker position, which I would agree. He sees that he believes a relationship with Vladimir Putin. They have the big summit in Anchorage. They agree to some things that he thinks, hey, we can do something with this. He assembles these world leaders 3 days later at the White House. You've got Keir Starmer of the UK and Giorgia Meloni, who is fantastic in Italy and a couple of others. And nothing happens because Russia, being Russian, Putin being Putin, continues bombing Kyiv and bombing this one, bombing that one, and isn't able to keep control of some drones, and they fly into Polish territory. And now NATO is engaged in an Article 4 conversation, which is Poland on the phone saying, guys, we may have to fight, so mount up. Because if we go Article 5, I expect you there. Trump sees this and says to himself, I already have NATO buying more U.S. hardware. Europe already understands now that this is up to them to solve. Europe and NATO is now contributing, I should say, 5% of GDP to NATO's defense, buying U.S. weaponry. You'll even notice his wording, the financial support of Europe, in particular NATO. So he's saying that the U.S. is not going to commit massive dollars, nor is it going to commit blood to this. It's for the Europeans to do. And Vladimir Putin screwed me over and was trying to make me look like the fool. So, yeah, let's be all in on Ukraine. That sounds absolutely like the two rules of Trumpism. Rule number 2, a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. That's what we're seeing here. He tried it that way. That way didn't work. Now he's going to try it this way. Isn't that everything the man has always done ever, ever, ever? Anybody who's been paying attention knows the answer to that, which is yes. How does this change Vladimir Putin? I don't know if it does. How does this change Zelensky? Well, the minute he sees some people with... I'll get to it. Keep it here. Couldn't get it in on time. I couldn't get it in on time. I ran up against it. I couldn't finish the thought. Oh, that kills me. That kills me. That's my fault. I allowed myself to get distracted. Anyway, moving on. The moral of the story, the point that I was trying to make, Vladimir Zelensky will not be super happy, although he's happy now, until he sees the peacekeeping force from NATO. When he sees troops from NATO in Kyiv and to the east there in the Donbass, then he'll say, my gosh, I'm getting what I want. And there's a real part two to this. A real part two, which is J.D. Vance in the original White House dust-up. I said it at the time. He was not prepared for the answer from Zelensky. He wasn't prepared. You're talking about diplomacy this, diplomacy that, diplomacy the other. And Zelensky said, you keep talking about diplomacy. We did this, and this. You can't trust the Russians. They don't believe in diplomacy. He said it. And he was proven right on that. It was J.D. Vance who stepped on himself there. And then Zelensky, not being good with the English or making a real mistake, said, you will see regarding an attack from Russia. And that's when Trump said, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but this is the Oval Office, and I run this mother. And Trump was right. And here we are now. Man, could not get the rest of it in. I will do that later. I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish up the ICE conversation. Finish up the Ukraine talk. Ukraine. Finish. Just that easy. Just that easy. Sorry, just getting a bunch of messages here. All right. Back. How you guys doing? I feel bad I didn't finish that up. That's rare. But it happens. You run up against it. Meanwhile, Trump gives a terrible speech. New bullets with anti-messages are found. The billionaires are playing you all. My gosh, Primordial Stew, I should say. Thank you for being here. You've saved us from ourselves. Oh, I'm so thrilled that you are the smart one and we are all just dopes. Thank goodness. Now, you want to try this again? The speech wasn't terrible. We've talked about what's going on with this killing, the attack on ICE agents, where a illegal immigrant, a detainee, was killed. But if you want to keep posting messages like that, first of all, thanks for listening. And you should have to donate before making a message that dopey. You know what? No more messages for you. You have to send me $20. How do we stop the crazies? I will finish my thought on Trump and Ukraine. I promise. Very rarely am I not able to fit it all in, but there was a lot. I mistimed. I will finish it. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. We are still following the story of the sniper in Dallas. The sniper took his own life. A detainee dead, 2 injured. This information can all change. So this is what we've got. right now. There was a press conference earlier. I'll share more of that. But I wanted to dig in on what it is that we're seeing here. What we saw in Dallas, and one could argue it's a copycat killing. It's a copycat of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And these things take place because we as a nation don't all see things the same way. We don't actually engage things the same way. And we aren't engaged with the same people. The separation in terms of news is very obvious and very complete. The left watches CNN and MSNBC. The right doesn't, but keeps an eye on those places to hear what kind of insanity they're spewing. The left does not engage any other news source unless it is even further left-leaning, and they internalize all of it. We have made the statement that I have made the statement that I believe, that the left has been ginning up lone wolves for years now to do harm to Donald Trump and to anybody else. We can go back to people like Maxine Waters, who said that if you see Donald Trump or his cabinet, this was in the first term, you see them, you make a crowd and you surround them, and we don't want them anymore. If you see them at a department store, she went down this whole list. You can go back to that as my gosh, it's a call for violence from the political left. And it has been a constant call for violence from the political left. Threat to democracy, threat to America, threat to women, threat to this, threat to that. Someone has to do something, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. That's what it is we've been seeing. That has been internalized, and that has been valued as an ideal on college campuses across America, as we see more and more 18 to 22-year-olds, grown-ups, coming out of universities, more and more radicalized. And shamefully, parents still spending money to send their kids to these universities that engage in the radicalization. You have to love your kid enough to say, no, I'm not paying for that anymore. No, you can't go to that school. Does it matter to me that you're 21? You asked me to pay for it. I'm not paying for it. I won't do it. I love you too much. Used to be the argument was we do certain things because we want to stay connected to our kids, and these are phases and they will work out of it. That doesn't work. We don't need to spend any more time on that. We need to say no. We need to say no. I was once at watching a protest take place with high schoolers and some others walking up and down the streets of a small suburb of Indianapolis where I live. And they're giving the finger to cops, and they're saying, it was ACAB, all cops are. It was George Floyd this and George Floyd that. And these are kids who, when they were done walking up and down the streets, as John Cleese from Monty Python would scream, marching up and down the square, they got back into the BMWs owned by their daddies and went back to their homes that were behind gates. It was play acting, every single part of it. And the answer is no, you don't get to do that. And by the way, no more social media. Scream, yell, holler, do whatever. I love you too much to allow this. We just saw today a attempt to kill ICE agents. We know this because next to where the shooter was found dead, bullets inscribed with anti-ICE messages. I guess that's now the thing that they do. And MSNBC wants you to know that, this is actually the work of right-wingers.
Inspired? Are you worried about copycats?
Yes. I don't know if the rooftop trend is going to be a thing. I mean, it could just be coincidental that the best vantage point just happen to be elevated positions in this case. But people emulating this kind of attack is certainly a concern. The irony with the writing, the first time we really saw that was Brenton Tarrant in the Christchurch shooting in a mosque in New Zealand, and he was a fierce, white supremacist and neo-Nazi, and wrote all over his weapon and his rounds very hateful information. So to see this coming from potentially the other side of the political spectrum is a little strange, because it is not something, if you are trying to, carry out some kind of message countering, more extreme right-wing stuff. I don't know why you would, use a tactic that a famous white supremacist who has been revered and copycatted over the years by other white supremacists, why you would do that. But
so this is what the fault of the political right, because of some guy in New Zealand, they're being influenced by right-wingers. It's one heck of a stretch, MSNBC. And when I say one heck of a stretch, I mean completely insane. Instead of saying we are ginning people up with our outrageous rhetoric and flat out lies, well, you see what the right's doing? The right's influence. And I believe that's how you get to this from Rasmussen. This poll from Rasmussen that shows 54% of liberals call Charlie Kirk's killing, quote, understandable, unquote. Understandable. She got raped because her skirt was too short. Well, it's understandable. Her skirt was too short. He was killed because he used the wrong pronoun. Well, it's understandable. He used the wrong pronoun. He was killed by the Islamist because he prayed to the wrong God. Well, it's understandable. He prayed to the wrong God. Understandable. There is nothing that you can speak of that is more incredibly violent and obscene than this. No more proof of a broken society than this. 54% of liberals, almost half of Democrats. Charlie Kirk was speaking hateful words, and his murder was tragic but understandable. Translation: you shouldn't say anything we find hateful, or you might experience the same. To quote Randy Marsh, I'm sorry, I thought this was America. These people aren't Americans. Oh, they might live in the United States, they may have citizenship, but as a matter of a understanding of our founding and a belief in who we are, they're not Americans. So what are we dealing with here? If the answer is you can kill somebody because you don't like their words, and it's understandable to kill somebody because of their quote-unquote hateful words, which is subjective, it's a matter of opinion. If you can rationalize that and explain it away, then you can keep doing it. And that's where we're at. That is what we're dealing with. Is it surprising that we see this murder attempt in Dallas? No. Will it be surprising when it happens 2 days from now? 3 weeks from now? An hour from now? Will it be surprising when it happens to name the person? Although I don't know if I should necessarily name people. I'm going to think about that because I don't want to be seen as somebody who's, kind of pushing that along. That is not my objective, clearly. And that's not what I'm saying. And everybody who's rational knows that. And I'm just asking myself, do I need to be a little more selective in my own wordings of these things? Which involves being introspective and self-reflection, which doesn't happen from a political left. It doesn't happen. This was Jim Clyburn on CNN talking about the importance of censorship.
heard from a lot of conservatives today, partly because there was a letter from Google, parent company Alphabet, that said that the Biden administration conducted repeated and sustained outreach and pressed the company to remove information around COVID that they thought was disinformation. So they're alleging that in a new letter, even though they didn't do it at the time. What do you make of the argument that those...
By the way, that absolutely happened. It was put out by judiciary.house.gov. Google admits censorship under Biden, promises to end bans of YouTube accounts of thousands of Americans censored for political speech. Came out on September 23rd. That happened. But what's the question to Senator Clyburn of South Carolina?
Those two things are the same.
Well, I don't think they're the same, simply because Biden, if any of this took place, these weren't jokes. This wasn't a TV show. This was a pandemic. And we didn't need to have misinformation going out about this pandemic.
So now they decide when censorship is okay and not okay. They decide when murder is okay and not okay. With all due respect, how is that American? And here is CNN listening to a congressman. What pushback was there to the insanity of that thought? You want to know how broken it is? It's not broken. If you want to know how bad it is, it's that bad. If you want to know how dangerous it is for anybody who might not agree with them, well, you know the answer. Doesn't mean we can stop. These people don't want you to engage. They don't want you to speak. And they're proud of the killings because it's understandable. And they're proud of the censorship. We'll leave it there for now. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz Today. Glad you're here. I appreciate you being here. You know what I just noticed? I've got a wire showing right there. That should not be there. That's the kind of stuff I noticed during the show. That's the kind of stuff that makes me absolutely crazy. Just nutty. I appreciate everybody here. I appreciate all the comments. Surprised they even reported it at all. You're talking about Clyburn. I mean, he was the guest on the show. That they asked about it. Should I be looking at that and saying, well, good for them? My response would be, if that's the way I should be, like, hey, at least they're talking about it. They haven't changed anything. They know the problem. They're not going to change anything. I think that's the story there. The excusing of censorship, the excusing of violence. They must explain to us how in the world that can be seen as American, as valuable, as worthwhile, as anything other than horrifying. Because it's horrifying. Plain and simple. It is what it is, what it is, what it is. Oh, and Disney is now going to raise its prices. You brought back Jimmy Kimmel, now you want me to pay more for Hulu? If you have the Select Bundle Legacy with Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN, it'll be $25 a month. Sorry, $24.99. And someone said to me, $24.99 is cheap, but $24.95 is classy. Is that true? Like, if it's 99 or is it 95, does that matter? Does that say something to somebody? Because I don't know about that. Thought it was interesting. Now I'm going to start looking at places and how they price. They price at 99, and I'm going to take a look at the place. So they price at 95, and I look at the place. Right? We all do that to stay under a number. $14.99, just say $15. Does it really psychologically move somebody in that way, or do they just consider it $14? Does it still work? Anyway, back to the radio show. I promised I would finish up my thought on Ukraine because I got cut off earlier because I was into it and I misplaced the time. Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, has to be absolutely overjoyed to hear from President Trump that, yeah, if Russian planes are flying into NATO nations should shoot them down. And why shouldn't NATO work with Ukraine to win back all the land? Russia's a nonsense army that has no brains and no skill and no leadership. Really, he's going after insulting Vladimir Putin. And with NATO's help, they can win it back all. And as long as Trump can sell the weaponry to NATO and get some kind of deal made, he'll be able to say, look, I got a peace deal. Exactly like I said, my leadership made this happen. If I'm Zelensky, I'm happy with what I'm hearing. But I don't think Zelensky is going to be doing dances until he sees a peacekeeping force in Kyiv and on the move through the eastern part of Ukraine to where the Russians are holding the line in the Donbass and these areas and pushing the Russians back. Then he'll say, my gosh, security guarantees. Now we're on to it. And then Zelensky will do something ridiculous like, hey, what about more air support, America? And I think he's learning not to push it, maybe. All I know is he met with Trump and he was wearing the suit jacket today. Speaking to the UN, wearing the suit jacket today. No tie, but he was wearing the suit jacket. And then there's the story about Turning Point. You have the state superintendent of public instruction in Oklahoma, where we are heard on KRMG in Tulsa. Good people. How you doing, guys? Ryan Walters has announced a plan to establish chapters of TPUSA, Turning Point USA, in all state high schools. I'm very excited, he writes, to announce a partnership with Turning Point to establish chapters in all Oklahoma high schools. Radical leftist teacher unions have dominated classrooms for far too long, and we are taking them back. Well, I agree about the unions. I flat out agree about the unions. And I want the unions broken. But what if the high school doesn't want the Turning Point chapter and has nobody who wants to join the Turning Point chapter? My only issue here is not that a high school could have a chapter. It's that I don't want the state forcing the chapter on the school. There's something off about that. Students of their own volition saying, hey, we're going to have a club. There are clubs for all sorts of things. Why can't there be a club for saying we're going to proactively engage the idea of debate? That's fine. But I don't think turning point chapters should be utilized in a way to go counter teachers' unions. I think what we have to do is break the teachers' unions. And let us be adults about this in protecting students from what is clearly their indoctrination. My take. This is Tony Katz today. I'm totally fine with turning point. I'm fine with the chapters. Go for it. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate everybody who's been part of the live stream. The show continues over at WIBC.com. You can listen to it there. But I got to run from the stream back tomorrow at noon. Some changes coming. Not yet. I'll announce when that happens. You guys are appreciated. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate the emails and the sharing and the everything else. Tomorrow, and by the way, you want to go to youtube.com/Tony Katz. That's where you want to go. You want to go on X to Tony Katz, and then you want to go to Facebook, Tony Katz Radio, and you want to subscribe in all those places. And of course, find everything at TonyKatz.com. The Substack, man, is it growing and building? The last couple of days have been great as we're moving everything over there. So appreciate you guys being a part of what we're doing. Make that happen. Go get them. Thank you guys. More than you know. And I will catch you tomorrow. All right? Hang loose. Do good things. Later, guys.